everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, today's question comes from Lou528491, and he asked us to talk about race changes in movies from comic book source material. So once again, we're talking about comics and superheroes, and we're gonna go... wait, so we're talking about superheroes, so you have to hide the Punisher logo? Alright.
I was just getting ready. I'm like, here we go.
Here we go. I thought there was a joke in there. Oh no, superheroes!
Essentially, what I think is that when you change the race, you have remade Death Race 2000 too many times.
That's true.
Wait, what are we talking about?
So what we're talking about is taking a character from comic books, and this is something that gets talked about a lot. I can't believe we've never done a show on this. This is something especially recently that's been coming up a lot.
Racy.
No, it certainly won't be, but we will be discussing race, and this is, by the way, now that you said that, not the sort of thing that we always discuss. We're not real big into talking about this sort of thing.
I mean, because largely, well, here's my opinion, largely, it doesn't matter. It more matters what you do with the character.
Precisely, yeah.
I mean, the big thing, or the big example that I'd kind of like to go to is really the obvious example. Mm-hmm. Kingpin, Daredevil, being my favorite actor, whose name I am blanking on, Michael Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan.
He's not my favorite actor, but he's pretty close to the top of the list. Like, he's so cool. Well, was so cool, but
yeah.
I think that when you look at a character like that, they really gave him, especially giving him a hip-hop soundtrack, or hip-hop-esque soundtrack, I guess, depending on whether or not you want to debate his hip-hop or rap. I frankly don't care. But giving him a hip-hop soundtrack is really, in my mind, trying to give him more of a street feel, and it's such a quick way and an effective way to establish that this guy was more of a rags to riches story than they have time to tell you within the context of the film. So they show him.
So are you saying that made it easier, that changing the race, making Wilson Flask, he happens to drink a lot. Do you think that it made it easier to take Wilson Fisk and make him a black character because if he's a white guy, you have to explain more about his background?
No, I'm saying using a hip hop soundtrack because that's so.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
That's so. Integrated into regular gang life.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, I think that what you're talking about is making it gang instead of mafia just because the time the film was made, and it makes more sense to do that.
Yeah, I just think it meshes so well, but...
I'm not sure that there was a huge conscious choice there, even. I think it was, we picked Michael Clark Duncan because he was the guy we wanted. I'm not sure there was a great deal of thought put behind it. Now, granted, you have to change the character a little bit, or maybe you didn't. You know, you could do. Maybe you wouldn't. You could use the same actor and make him 100% the guy from the comics, but his skin color is different. You could do that. Doing it the way they did it, though, I think was better for Michael Clark Duncan's sensibilities. I wouldn't be surprised if having a hip hop soundtrack wasn't his idea. I wouldn't be surprised if he brought some of his personality to that role, and that's why they did that. And also, I imagine that part of the reason they cast him was just because they would have had a difficult time finding somebody that looked like Kingpin from the comics that could act, right?
You know. Maybe I should say this to kind of jump into why I said what I did just initially.
Absolutely.
But I remember sitting in the movie theater and they played hip-hop music, and I was like, what, it's got to be hip-hop because he's black?
That's exactly what I thought at first, yeah.
And then I thought, well, it kind of brings things to the character that's a little, maybe it's not different, but it's kind of a little spin on it.
And that's precisely right, and I think that's a great way to segue into trying to streamline this topic a little bit and then go to some more examples, is I think it's all right to do it when, just like with anything, when there's a decent reason behind it, when it's not just we did it for the sake of either, I don't know, shock value is not the right word, but just like trying to impress people. Look at us, we're progressive because there are too many white people in the movies, so we've got to change their race, right? You know that sort of thing. Not to say that it only ever happens, that only like people of other nationalities get changed. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we even take like with that example, where we actually will take a white person and make them, or I'm sorry, where sometimes we'll take, like, say, a black person and make them white, like what happened in Spawn. We took Terry Fitzgerald in Spawn and made him white. You know why they did that? This is an example of a time that it's a stupid idea. In Spawn, I just thought that this was condescending to the audience. What they did in Spawn is they made Terry Fitzgerald a white person because they were afraid of it looking like a black movie. So they said, oh, well, white families won't go see the movie if there's too many black people in it because it'll look like it's only for black people. That's stupid. And they should not have done that. Now, if they had some kind of a good reason, or if it was just, this is the guy we want to play this role, and we're going to be colorblind, and just, this guy came in, we liked him a lot, we gave him the role, Terry Fitzgerald gets nothing to do in that movie. He's not important, you know what I mean? So they just changed him, and, like, McFarlane even came out in the letters pages and said that, in the comics. So anyway, that kind of thing was stupid. So that sort of thing,
dumb.
Playing politics and all that, that's not a good reason to do it. When it's just, that's the guy we wanted, and we've got to change things a little bit to make it work because he looks different, that's totally fine. I think that's what we got with Kingpin. I imagine that's what we're going to get with Lawrence Fishburne. I think Lawrence Fishburne was a fantastic choice for Perry White, and I'm really excited to see it. I can see that. I'm looking forward to it. I like that a lot. And again, I like
Lawrence Fishburne a lot. I mean,
I do too. Yeah, and you've got purists who are like, no, Perry White's a white person. Yeah, he is, but this is we already know that this is going to be a Superman like we've never seen on film before.
There was a quick story with you, real quick. I was talking to these two guys, and these two guys were black, and they were telling me all about the new Spider-Man movie. They're like, "Oh, dude, did you hear Jamie Foxx is going to be in Spider-Man? I'm so excited!" And they said, "I have no idea who he's going to be. I don't know who he could be." And what was funny to me was I said, "I think he'd make a good Electro."
Oh, did you actually say that?
Not a joke.
It's awesome.
I said, "I think he'd make a good Electro," and those guys looked at me and said, "Really? But Electro's not black." And I was like, "Doesn't matter. I think he'd be a good Electro." And then I went home and looked up who Jamie Foxx was going to be, and I went, oh.
You have characters like that, and this is where this is where I feel like I got to tread lightly a little bit because I'm not sure how exactly to frame this. I think that when it's a minor character that, or not even just a minor character, but a character that there's not a whole lot of like definitive story for. Like, I don't think there is a definitive Electro. I think you can do that character in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. I really like
Shocker is the same way. Well, and if you've seen the...
He becomes colorless and with the... he's just an electric body.
You haven't seen the pictures then. That's what they're doing with the movie. They're doing that version, and we've seen him in that makeup now, and yeah, you can't even hardly tell he's black. I mean, like, that's... Yeah, it doesn't matter. But again, I don't think with certain characters it matters anyway. Now, the question is, when you talk about icons, that's when it gets sticky. Do we want someone of a different nationality to ever play Superman or Captain America or Batman, things like that? Or even, I'm trying to think of good examples. Going the other direction, again, I feel like I gotta tread lightly. This is naturally, of course, not a racist thing. I wouldn't want to see a white person play Steel. That's a black guy. Yeah. He needs to be a black guy. He's based on John Henry, who was a black steel-driving man.
Fair enough.
Right? So there are certain characters that I feel like... What I'm going to say is, if the nationality is a big enough part of who they are at the core, it's got to be that way. That's what I think. Storm's got to be black.
True. Yeah.
Storm's got to be black. Now, Catwoman could go either way. Catwoman could be white or black. We've seen both, and I think it works that way. But there are certain characters that I think who they are is too much about their culture, and their culture is somewhat representative of, is somewhat represented by their their heritage, their background. So I think that you kind of need that.
I think it'd be kind of cool to see a black Lex Luthor.
Me too. Sure. But what's funny is when Tom Clancy voiced him back in. That's that voice actor's name, right? No, not
that's
not
the novelist.
Tom. It's the novelist. Not Tom Clancy.
I was like, wow, that's a coincidence.
Clancy Brown. When he voiced him, that's funny. I said that. When he voiced him back in the Superman show, his skin was darker toned, and I thought he was black or half black.
Yeah, I mean that's why I said that because I feel like he looked similar to it.
No, I think you could totally do a black Lex Luthor, but I think it's the same thing with a black Kingpin, right? Like, yeah. I guess my point is I don't think his nationality is built too much and ingrained too much in who he is. So, do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think?
No, I agree. I'm going to share this story because it's really more tying. This is more about comics than it is movies. But back when good old what's-his-face died, let's call him Captain America. Back when Captain America died, and they were talking about who's going to become the new Captain America, I said, I would really like to see a black Captain America. And I had everybody in the room turn and look at me, and they said, why? And I said, because that's really more of an expansion of the American dream. You know, anybody, or everybody's an American. Unlike anybody who is from this country or living in this country is an American.
Well, and I think it's important because I guess all the good examples we're coming up with are white to black or black to white. I think it's important to note that this works with all kinds of nationalities. I mean, like you could have had an Asian Captain America or a Hispanic Captain America, but that's a great point. But that's different than saying let's have a Hispanic person play Captain America. I just don't think that makes sense because he's from the 40s, and you know what I mean. Like I think that we have to be colorblind to a certain degree, but we also have to keep historical.
Now, I will say this, that there was a black Captain America that I believe was a retcon, and say that Isaiah Bradley was the name of this Captain America, and he was I think, grandfather of the guy that is Patriot. So there was a black Captain America. There's a black Captain America-esque character being Patriot, and also the Falcon has at times put on the Captain America costume.
Yes, sure.
And
Rhodey's another character. It's got to be black. I wouldn't want to see him played by a white guy. I mean, he's Rhodey is a black character. Yeah.
And well, I don't necessarily feel like he has to be black, but
I think maybe it's partly a perception of there are certain characters that you get so used to seeing looking a certain way that you don't want to see them the other way. So I guess me saying that, means I understand more why people complain about Kingpin. But then I got to see it and I liked it. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to, I guess in my mind, no, I would give it a chance. I wouldn't immediately say cry foul. I cry foul about the Terry Fitzgerald thing because of the reason they did it.
Yeah, that's dumb. But
that's all. Yeah.
You remember that Captain America Corps where they had the really
By the way,
tall...
did you read that?
Yeah.
It was great. I loved it. Did you like it?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of... I thought it was very 90s-esque.
That's what I liked about it. Yeah, it was fun.
So they had a character in there that was this giant mix of a bunch of races, and his name, it was like Takanawa Morales or something like that.
Yeah, something.
And I'm entirely certain I'm wrong about that.
That's not what it was, but it was like that, yeah.
But and he looked like a mix of varying races, and he was the Captain America from the future. And I thought that was so cool.
Well, it makes sense.
I mean, the big melting pot.
People are always talking about how as it's becoming more okay socially to mix races and relationships and stuff that generations from now we might get to where they're. We won't totally be one color, but there will be, there'll be some of that going on. Yeah. So that's just really interesting. By the way, I liked American Dream a lot in that, and I kind of wanted her to get her own comic book because I thought that was cool.
She was the female.
Does she?
Yeah, she's part of the Marvel. She had a miniseries.
Well, that's what I mean. But I wanted to see her get a monthly. Like I thought she was great. Yeah.
Well, she's part of the Marvel 2 stuff, so she's that alternate future Spider-Girl stuff.
I guess what I mean is it'd be cool if they made a 616 version of her and gave her a comic book. Like.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like because Marvel's been getting better and better at that the last couple of years, like expanding their female superheroes and having more people have their own books. And now we've got a team book that's all female. We've got that in Fearless Defenders, and
they should make a mini with
Captain
U.S.
Marvel.
Agent and American Dream.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And call it U.S. Agent American Dreaming.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't buy it if it was called that.
Probably not. It's dumb.
But I'd love to say that's the dumbest Marvel possible title I've ever heard, but it's not.
I would laugh. I would enjoy it.
The Superior American Dream.
Superior American Dream.
But anyway, okay. So, would you ever be okay with what? Because honestly, I think that this is kind of the major component of this that we should finish out with. So we've already talked about more kind of gender neutral characters where there are certain not gender neutral. I'm sorry, racial neutral where there are certain skin color in the comics or they have a certain background, but they're kind of neutral too, where it's not that big of a deal to change them. But would you ever be okay with a screen version of when you're talking about just like alternate universes and stuff, like yeah, do a black Superman from another universe, and I mean like that's been done, and different things like that.
They might even do a Russian Superman. That might be kind of.
Would you ever want to see Clark Kent as a different nationality? Would you ever want to see Peter Parker as a different nationality? That's the question. Like, is it really that big of a deal? Could it work? I don't know. I'm not sure.
You make a terrific point. In the comics,
I resist
it obviously
it,
works. I mean,
but then could it be done?
Because of the Ultimate Spider-Man right now.
But again, he's a different character.
Yeah. So
that's the thing with Ultimate, though. If they had made Ultimate from the beginning a black kid, you couldn't argue with it. It's Ultimate.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, if Peter Parker there had been, or a Hispanic kid or anything, yeah, sure. They did it with Nick Fury. I mean, like, and obviously we should mention that. They did it with Nick Fury. Now, I don't like this... I'm sorry, I'm jumping everywhere. I don't like this other direction we've gone.
Yeah, because he's black in Ultimate, he has to be black in the regular continuity.
Because he's black in the movies, the regular continuity that more people are reading, we've got to have a black version. And then they try to have their cake and eat it too and say, well, no, it's not really Nick Fury, it's his son that we've never seen before, and he's got an eye patch on the same side.
It's a genetic defect.
Again, it's not a racial thing, it's just, look, we've had a certain character and he's a certain way, and like...
Which, by the way...
We already have that Nick Fury. The thing is, Samuel L. Jackson's character is based on Samuel L. Jackson, and then they cast him.
Right.
We've got this already in both degrees, and we don't need to do it in 616. I don't know. I don't like that. But I don't think
David Hasselhoff's character.
I'd love, by the way, to know if anybody likes that, because I've not talked to anybody that said anything positive about it.
I think it's kind of underselling the reader. I mean, it's.
It is. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s got to look just like it does in the movies because it's in the movies now. I don't
like the idea that the costumes have to look just like they do in the movies. I mean, let them be what they are. I mean,
and that's a problem we've had since the
X-Men.
Since X-Men, yeah, precisely.
Or, I mean, you could say Blade, but Blade's cooler in the movie than he was in the comic books.
Everyone wanted him to be the movie version in the comics. Yeah, nobody was going to complain about that.
I feel like Marvel said, hey, I got this character here, and nobody likes him right now, but we have a good idea for him.
You want to hear just how true that is? Maybe I've said this before, but I think it's hilarious. In the Marvel Encyclopedia, in the original, I've never bought any of the subsequent ones, but in the original Marvel Encyclopedia, if you look up Blade, for all the characters, it gives you required reading. It has a list of like this is
Blade the movie is what it is.
The required reading for Blade is the movie adaptation.
That's really funny.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
I love that. Anyway, Blade is one I'd have a tough time seeing. As a different nationality.
I feel like when it comes to the major characters, be it Blade, be it Superman, be it Steel, be it Batman.
I don't know. That's an interesting list.
you want to see the thing that you're accustomed to. I mean, seeing.
But I guess the question is why.
I feel like there's kind of a familiarity that we attach to a character the way they are. Like, well, I've gotten to know Peter Parker as he is. And I have a certain image of what Peter Parker is in my head. Now, I feel like people...
Also, Peter Parker is, at the core, a nerdy, pasty, white kid. That's the thing, is that I feel like you really would have to change something fundamental about the character to make him a different nationality, wouldn't you? Now, that's not to say it couldn't work. That's not to say that it would be necessarily a problem. No, it could work, but people, I think, also have a reason to resist it. I'm saying I could see both sides of this.
You know, it's interesting. I kind of feel like people resist change of the major characters pretty severely. I mean, people go, he's not going to be blonde? He's got to be blonde.
Oh, yeah, Captain America's got to be blonde. Yeah, sure.
Daredevil's not going to be redhead? He's got to be a redhead. And then they do that stuff, and I go,
yeah, and
you can beatbox pretty well, you know.
I don't, and I don't get that crazy about that sort of thing. I guess for me it's a suspension of disbelief thing. I have a difficult time imagining that certain characters, because their nationality has so much to do with their character, could be a different nationality without fundamentally changing the character. And then the question just becomes, well, is it okay if something about that character is fundamentally changed? Again, Kingpin, that sort of kind of happened. You know, and then I liked what we got. So, I mean, like, I don't know, I can kind of see either side of it. One thing I don't like that happens sometimes is when, and I can't think of a great example of this inside comic to movie fiction, but when you take a character and you try to say they're the same nationality, but then you cast somebody that's not that, when you probably could have found somebody that could play it. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean? Like we've got that again. This is the obvious go-to example right now. We've got that with Tonto and Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp. Like we couldn't have found
which I have a different beef with that, but
well, no, but I mean the first thing I wonder is could we have at least not if we couldn't find a great Native American actor, could we have at least cast somebody who sort of looks like that or isn't so familiar to us that we were totally taken out? Because I'm sorry, but if I see that movie, I'm not going to be able to separate Johnny Depp from Tonto. I'm not going to be able to. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. Especially from seeing the previews, I don't think I'm going to be able to separate that.
You know, part of the deal is I feel like what that movie's trying to do, and this really annoys me. What that movie's trying to do.
And by the way, let me say I've gotten some flack recently for saying that I'm not interested in that movie and I don't want to see it and not giving it a chance.
I'll give it a chance.
It doesn't look good. I'm not. It doesn't look like Lone Ranger to me. I'll give it a chance. I wasn't going to, but people are right. I should be doing that. I should at least go and give it a shot. Because what I said in the comments to somebody was, they said, you know, at least give it a chance. I said, you know what, you're right. You're right. Because, and I'm conceding to this point. You're right. I went to Green Hornet, and Green Hornet's wasn't Green Hornet, but I liked it a lot better than I thought I would. I didn't think it was great, but I liked it more than I thought I would. So, you know, I'm glad I gave that movie a chance.
I think my exact words to my fiance the other day was, because words, plural, said, I'll probably go see it. But it just upsets me that somebody said, let's greenlight a Lone Ranger movie and then not make it the serious-natured thing that it could have been. Because we have this... And
the low-key thing it could have been, and then it's like, well, could we sell movie tickets? It's that sort of thing. But then, you didn't have to spend as much money on it either, right? There's no reason Lone Ranger needs $150 million budget or whatever it has.
And I get kind of annoyed with this idea of this.
By the way, it got put back for almost 2 years, at least a year and a half, because they were spending too much money on it. It's Lone Ranger. You don't have to spend that much money on it if you do it. If you make something if you make something too close to the TV show, then it doesn't work because then you have multiple villains that all use the exact same shack with a trapdoor in the same place.
Right.
But anyway.
But
I love that set, by the way. It's funny.
Dynamite released a 6-issue, or Brett Matthews did more than 6 issues, but I read the first 6-issue story arc, and it was terrific. It was so cool, and what was so significant about it to me was that Tonto was not just this kind of little guy that stands on the side and helps out the hero. Tonto saved the Lone Ranger's butt and made him into the Lone Ranger.
Oh, that's cool.
The Lone Ranger said, you know what, I need a symbol, I need to be able to do these things, and I need training to be more than just a good shot. And I know how to track people within society, but I don't really know how to track people, by, putting your ear to the ground because it's in the Old West at that time. So... The Tonto helped Lone Ranger, as we know him, find his way, seek revenge, and become a force of justice. Now, it's such an interesting storyline in the comic books. And then you get to this movie, and they think, well, nobody takes the Lone Ranger seriously. Well, except for apparently Dynamite and everybody reading it. And the people who used to watch the Lone Ranger back when it wasn't this movie. So nobody takes that seriously, obviously. So we need to let somebody goofy it up a little bit. Now, it might be fun, it might be good, I don't know. But it's not Lone Ranger as I know it could be done. And furthermore, I feel like it's doing a disservice to the Western genre.
I'm hearing that a lot from people. Yeah. By the way, this has nothing to do with the topic.
Well, fair enough. But I'm going to finish that thought. It's doing a disservice to the Western genre because you have this familiar title that people would potentially go see just because it's a familiar title, and you're turning it into a spoof of the genre.
That happens all the time. I mean, like I'm not surprised they went that way with it, and I'm kind of not surprised they went that way with Green Hornet. Although with Green Hornet, it was interesting because we've heard we had heard over the years of so many attempts to do silly versions of somewhat serious properties with superheroes, and it never happened, and this time it actually did happen, so it's kind of interesting. But, like, this happens with sitcoms and, like, 80s action things and stuff all the time. It was remarkable that A-Team was so close to the source material.
Oh, yeah.
Just because this kind of thing happens all the time. Anyway, final thoughts on the actual topic we were doing.
In reality, it doesn't matter, but I understand the the hesitation when you have a character that you're so familiar with and you love the way it is. So,
I think it matters in that you have to be thoughtful about it. I think that if you're going to do it, you've got to do it deliberately. I think there's got to be a reason. And what I mean is deliberately in, you can go, hey, this is the right person for the role. I don't care what their skin color is. We're gonna change it to work. I'm telling you, I really think that worked with Kingpin. And I think that that's going to work with Lawrence Fishburne, although we haven't seen the movie yet, you know. But I mean, like, you know, you look at Lawrence Fishburne. First of all, he's got the build of Perry White because he's put on a few pounds. You know, I mean, like he looks like Perry White except that he's African American, and I can totally see him as like the old school news reporter, and like times are changing, and he's trying to figure out how to keep up with print dying and stuff. I just totally see that with him. I can see him playing that role, and so we may find out he was the right guy and there wasn't a white guy to fill that role, you know, that sort of thing. But if you're going to take a really iconic character that was always one thing, and this is the first time you're going to change it, and it's going to be this giant multi-million-dollar blockbuster, you've got to be thoughtful about that. You've got to be very careful that you have that you have a real reason, or that the movie is so good we just don't care. That's what you've got to do with it.
You know, I also think it's important to note that depending on the time period that it's set in, and depending on the social climate that movie is set in, it might not make any sense historically to switch a race.
That's it. It wouldn't make any sense with Captain America. Mm-hmm. The super soldier, the super soldier program would have picked probably a white person.
Yeah, if they thought the project was... Now, there are things in the comic books where they have black people be test subjects, and in the Ultimate Universe, that's where Nick Fury comes from.
Oh, that's interesting, okay.
And,
well, yeah, okay, so you could finagle it.
So, and in the regular universe, there is Isaiah Bradley, and I'm not sure his genesis really is, but, you know, there's...
It's in with a Super Nintendo. Sorry. That was a terrible joke. Anyway, that's where my genesis is.
You know, I want to say that, like, for example, if you're casting people in the Mafia, it makes sense to have a black mob. It makes sense to have an Italian mob, a Russian mob. Reason being is that, generally, the people who are in the Mafia are really pretty racist. I mean, it's, you can't really be a member of the family if you're half Jewish. I mean, it's just the way it is. You could be half Italian, but then you're half Jewish, and you're not fully accepted. Like, no, your mother's a good friend of mine, we'll let you in on this thing, that's great. But you know what? You're never going to be one of us because we're all Italian. So, now, I was in a play at one point. I wrote this play, I was in this play, and we had a black guy in the play because he was the best one out of all of it, granted at that, when you're at a community college scale.
Even Klingons are more tolerant than that, letting people in their ranks. Like, jeez.
I mean, granted, on the small scale, you really have to be lax because you have probably about 15 actors to choose from. But when you're making, like, when I say small scale, I mean like college production.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
So when I cited my play as being like, you really have to make a choice based on talent.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But when you're making a multi-million-dollar film and you want things to be historically accurate...
You've got choices, yeah. And I think sometimes you have to take chances on people that you've never seen before that really can act and are great or are right for the part, you know what I mean? So you know, if there's... Like, if you just can't find somebody to play that role, except for somebody that doesn't look like them, and you've got to kind of change it and finagle it, which, like I said, I think is maybe kind of what happened with Michael Clarke Duncan. Okay, but in the case of, again, I'm sorry, something like Tonto, I just think that that's a star vehicle thing.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the fact that he's got first billing and his name's not in the title. I
almost feel like somebody said, Johnny, I don't know this for certain, but I feel like this is probably what happened. Somebody said, Johnny Depp, we're gonna make a Lone Ranger movie, and Tonto's gonna be the one who's actually effective, and the Lone Ranger is just gonna be this kind of comedic.
Well, we had that with Green Hornet.
Yeah. And Johnny Depp's like, man, I'd like to be in that. Like, oh, you want to be the Lone Ranger? No, I want to be Tonto. Okay. So,
yeah, maybe so.
I just feel like that's probably what happened.
He probably had us pick a role, so that's a really great point.
Yeah, maybe and if you're going to pick one of the two, you're probably going to pick... Now, you know, if they were to make a serious Lone Ranger movie, Johnny Depp would be a cool Lone Ranger.
I can see it.
I would love that.
Potentially.
But anyway...
I didn't see that gangster movie he was in. Wasn't he good in that?
I heard it wasn't very good, but I don't know. Now, granted, he was in a gangster movie called Donnie Brasco, which he was pretty good in and was a pretty good movie.
Oh, okay.
But Public Enemies, I did not see. I heard it was not very good.
Oh, really? Okay.
But which kind of upsets me, considering all of the stars in it.
I'm surprised you didn't go.
Me too, and I still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still haven't seen The Departed, and that's I don't understand why I haven't seen that. Scorsese.
We need to catch up, Vince.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you later. We're going to watch the movies. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you have anything you'd like us to talk about in a future video, be sure to leave that in the comments, and also tell us what you think about this topic. What do you think about recasting races, and when is it okay, when is it not okay, or does it just not matter? I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
And we'll see you next time. Vince, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think so, Cap. But how do you get clowns to shave their legs?
Well, I'm not sure, but what I was thinking is, I think our viewers should join the Geeks United Club.
The Geeks United Club? That's a terrific idea. When they join, they get lots of stuff.
Do they really? Can you jog my memory?
Stuff like this handy-dandy manila envelope in which we ship all your stuff.
That's pretty cool, but it's not the coolest part. They also get this DVD that has 2 full hours of their favorite Geekvolution content. They get to pick what videos go on here, and they also get a custom episode of Geeks Not Nerds just from us to them.
That's pretty cool. They also get a Geeks United membership card on which they can put their name and check as to whether or not they will be a Logan Tier or a Doomsayer.
You know, I would check Logan Tier, but that would make me a fan of myself.
I think I'm gonna check Logan Tier because I like to be unpredictable.
Fair enough. They also get a random comic from the Comic Vault. Now, the Comic Vault is very vast and ominous, and that means that the chances of you getting this particular comic are not that great, but it could be anything. It might be this, but it might be all kinds of other comics, too.
We also have a much longer publication in the form of Captain Logan's novel, The Girl with 7 First Names. It is a comedic science fiction novel. Check it out.
They also get this letter from Vince. I've read it. It's appalling.
He's hugely insulting. Oh, they get one more thing.
Oh, what's that, Vince?
They can request a rewind.
Or a Vince Versus.
Ooh.
Yeah, for us to review sometime during the next year or so. And you get all of that for $20, Vince.
$20? That's a lot of entertainment, folks.
Yeah, all you gotta do is go to wearegeeksnotnerds.com and click on the Geekvolution store, or you can just go to the link in the description of this video.
It's a great idea. We'll see you on your envelope.